TLC just pulled the ultimate shocker. Andre and Elizabeth are banned for life. Gone. No spin-offs, no tell-alls, no last-minute redemption arcs. Fans woke up to the news and social media exploded. Some cheered, some panicked, but almost everyone was left asking the same question. How could a couple who dominated reality TV drama for almost 10 years suddenly lose everything? From the very first season, Andre built a reputation as unpredictable, volatile, and impossible to predict. On screen, he thrived on confrontation, every argument escalating faster than anyone could follow. Off-screen, insiders claimed his intensity didn't stop with the cameras. He allegedly clashed with producers, confronted crew members, and tested every limit the network could set. Each day on set became a high-stakes gamble. Would Andre cooperate, or would production grind to a halt? Elizabeth was a different story. For years, she acted as the emotional buffer, caught in a constant balancing act. Loyal to Andre, protective of her family, and trying to maintain some sense of normalcy, she bore the brunt of the chaos while the cameras rolled. It wasn't just about being on TV. Every argument, every manipulation, every sudden outburst added pressure behind the scenes that few outsiders could imagine. The strain wasn't just emotional, it became logistical, legal, and even financial for the network. Ratings were high. Fans couldn't look away. Producers tolerated the outburst because drama sells. Every time Andre exploded or family tensions boiled over, viewership spiked. Social media lit up with memes, clips, and endless debate. But ratings only buy patience for so long. The constant unpredictability, the reshoots, the canceled filming days, and the reports of crew refusing to return finally tested the network's limits. So, how did things reach this point? How does a couple that seemed untouchable, almost invincible in the world of reality TV suddenly find themselves erased? That's the question everyone inside and outside the franchise was asking. It wasn't one big scandal or a single viral fight. It was years of tension, built layer by layer, until TLC finally decided they couldn't handle it anymore. Andre's temper was legendary. He allegedly accused producers of manipulation, argued with assistants over minor details, and demanded control over how the show portrayed his life. Even small adjustments to the script reportedly triggered explosive reactions. Elizabeth, meanwhile, continued to mediate, soothe, and apologize for conflicts she didn't start, caught in the eye of a storm that never seemed to end. For years, she shielded the team, herself, and sometimes even Andre, holding together a show that was fraying at the edges. Behind the cameras, tensions escalated faster than the public could imagine. Scheduling chaos, off-camera arguments, and heated meetings became the norm. Sources say production executives spent hours trying to manage behavior that was spiraling out of control. Every week brought new setbacks, new complaints, and new questions about whether the couple was worth the continued investment. The network had to weigh the ratings against the toll on morale, production efficiency, and even legal risk. Fans only saw the tip of the iceberg, the high-drama arguments and family confrontations. What they didn't see was the back-end chaos. Crew members exhausted, producers negotiating daily, and Elizabeth quietly trying to keep the peace. It all added up to a perfect storm that could not be contained any longer. And the truth is, what happened behind the cameras was far worse than anything viewers had ever seen on screen. The fights, the breakdowns, the constant brink of collapse moments were enough to make even the most seasoned producer question whether the couple could continue. So here we are. Andre and Elizabeth are gone, banned for life, leaving fans shocked, producers relieved, and the franchise at a turning point. But this is only the beginning. The next acts reveal exactly what led to this unprecedented decision, how backstage chaos reached a breaking point, and what the fallout really means for everyone involved. When Andre and Elizabeth first appeared on the show, no one could have predicted they'd become a lightning rod for drama. Every argument seemed amplified, every disagreement broadcast like a storm everyone was secretly waiting for. From tense family confrontations to public fights that made headlines, they quickly carved out a reputation as the couple you love to watch and sometimes love to hate. Fans couldn't look away. Social media buzzed with every meltdown, every sharp word, every chaotic dinner scene. But it wasn't just about entertainment. Ratings skyrocketed when Andre's temper flared, or Elizabeth's family pushed back, and producers noticed. Every episode featuring the couple seemed guaranteed to drive conversation, trends, and online engagement. Drama sold. And for a while, the explosive energy worked in everyone's favor. The show thrived on their conflicts. And the network tolerated a lot because viewers were glued to the screen. Still, there were cracks behind the scenes that viewers never saw. Insiders reportedly warned early on that Andre's intensity was becoming difficult to manage. There were reports of crew members feeling drained, of production days extended by hours due to repeated arguments. Elizabeth, ever the peacemaker, found herself constantly in the middle, trying to shield the network and the team from the worst of Andre's unpredictability. For years, these warnings were largely ignored. Ratings were high, and in the world of reality TV, success often outweighs caution. Fans obsessed over every heated exchange, every on-screen tantrum. And while the public reveled in the chaos, the people behind the cameras were quietly navigating constant tension. Scheduling conflicts, reshoots, and internal disputes became part of the production rhythm. Fame, in this environment, acted like a magnifying glass. Every personal flaw, every impulsive reaction, every stubborn refusal to cooperate was amplified for an audience hungry for drama. What may have started as minor disagreements grew into larger conflicts that affected not only the couple's image, but also the day-to-day functioning of the show. Producers had to constantly balance giving Andre and Elizabeth the spotlight fans craved while keeping the production from collapsing under pressure. Even in the early seasons, there were many red flags. Arguments that seemed small on screen occasionally triggered off-camera tension that lingered for days. Crew members allegedly debated whether to stay assigned to their scenes. Minor disagreements sometimes escalated into full-blown scheduling nightmares. And yet, the network continued, trusting the draw of ratings over addressing the increasingly obvious risks. Elizabeth's role during these years was crucial. She often diffused situations that could have turned disastrous, mediated between Andre and producers, and tried to maintain some sense of normalcy amidst chaos. But the constant balancing act came at a cost. Emotional fatigue, stress, and the quiet burden of knowing that one wrong move could unravel everything hung over her for years. Fans saw the fights and the drama, but the backstage pressure foreshadowed a breaking point nobody could ignore forever. The warning signs were there, subtle but persistent, hinting that the fame-fueled chaos could eventually topple even the most celebrated reality couple. By the time Andre and Elizabeth were household names, the foundation of their drama was already built. Popularity shielded them for a while, but the underlying tension, the unchecked volatility, and the ongoing strain on production were quietly stacking up like a ticking time bomb. One misstep, one incident, one eruption, and the narrative everyone loved could turn into the crisis that would end their tenure on the show. The chaos that fans saw on screen was only a fraction of what was happening behind the cameras. By the later seasons, production reportedly became a battlefield. Days were canceled at the last minute, reshoots piled up, and crew members allegedly refused to return after dealing with Andre's behavior. Simple filming schedules turned into complex negotiations just to get the couple on set. Every day felt like walking a tightrope, and insiders said even the most experienced producers were reaching their limit. Andre allegedly didn't stop at being volatile. Sources claim he actively tried to steer the show's narrative. He challenged how scenes were edited, accused producers of favoritism, and sometimes threatened to leave unless storylines were altered. Minor disagreements allegedly turned into verbal confrontations, leaving producers scrambling to maintain control. What worked as entertainment for viewers became a source of daily stress for those making the show happen. Elizabeth's role during this time was more than just co-star. She was mediator, negotiator, and emotional anchor. She reportedly spent hours trying to calm Andre, apologizing for disruptions, and trying to reassure the crew that the show could continue. Loyalty to her husband and a sense of responsibility toward the franchise collided in a way that reportedly left her emotionally drained. Every production day was a balancing act between keeping Andre calm and keeping the show afloat. Despite her efforts, the pressure kept escalating. Crew members allegedly began requesting reassignment, refusing to work on scenes involving Andre, and expressing frustration over the constant disruptions. Producers reportedly held emergency meetings to discuss ways to contain the chaos. Each plan seemed to last only a few hours before Andre found another point of contention, another argument, or another reason to threaten departure. The turning point came when executives allegedly realized controlling Andre was impossible. They had tried repeatedly to set boundaries, clarify expectations, and manage the couple's behavior. Every intervention, however, seemed to trigger more conflict. Andre's alleged accusations of manipulation, his demands to reshape storylines, and threats to expose the production if things didn't go his way convinced decision-makers that the pattern would not end. What was once seen as a compelling source of ratings suddenly became a liability too dangerous to tolerate. Elizabeth, according to insiders, reportedly felt trapped in the middle. Loyalty to Andre clashed with her understanding that the show and her own career might not survive if the chaos continued. She was caught between emotional allegiance and practical survival, navigating a minefield where every step had consequences she could neither fully control nor escape. Every on-set meltdown reportedly added to her stress, leaving her exhausted and, at times, powerless to prevent the spiraling events. And then came an incident that insiders say shook the franchise to its core, the kind of moment even veteran producers admit they never thought they'd witness. It wasn't about ratings, social media, or even fan complaints. It was a confrontation so intense behind closed doors that it changed the trajectory of the couple's career forever. Sources describe it as a perfect storm of tension, anger, and miscommunication, building on years of accumulated conflicts. Allegedly, it involved Andre losing control during a production meeting, raising his voice, and challenging senior staff in a way that reportedly left multiple executives stunned. Scenes were disrupted, schedules fell apart, and Elizabeth reportedly broke down, trying to salvage what she could. This was the moment the network allegedly realized that the drama, once lucrative, had crossed a line they could no longer contain. From that point forward, the path to the permanent ban was set. Every action, every threat, every backstage confrontation reinforced the conclusion that Andre's behavior could no longer be managed without jeopardizing the entire franchise. Ratings and popularity could not outweigh the growing chaos and the toll on the people behind the cameras. Fans only saw the explosions on screen, the arguments, the confrontations, but the internal collapse of trust, structure, and stability had already begun. And this was only the first chapter of a story that would end with a decision nobody in the franchise could ignore. The decision came suddenly, but the buildup had been years in the making. TLC reportedly decided that Andre and Elizabeth were no longer worth the risk. The couple's on-camera drama had once boosted ratings, but the off-camera chaos had reached a point that insiders claim was impossible to manage. Production delays, crew fatigue, constant confrontations, and Andre's alleged attempts to control storylines made the risk outweigh the reward. Executives reportedly concluded that permanent separation from the show was the only viable path forward. Fans reacted immediately. Social media exploded. Leaks surfaced from production insiders who were frustrated with years of behind-the-scenes conflict. Twitter threads blew up, TikTok creators made breakdowns, Reddit users dissected every clip, and comment sections lit up with shock, delight, and disbelief. Some celebrated the decision as long overdue, relieved that the toxic cycle was finally broken. Others were horrified, wondering how the franchise could continue without its most notorious couple. The internet collectively debated whether this was a victory for order or the loss of the show's most explosive magnet. Andre's reaction, according to insiders, was as intense as his on-camera persona. Rage, denial, and legal threats reportedly followed quickly. He allegedly tried to rally allies in the cast to publicly support him, pushing for reversals and demanding explanations from executives. He insisted he was indispensable, that the ratings depended on him, and that he had been unfairly targeted. Calls, messages, and confrontations reportedly continued late into the night as he tried to regain control of a situation that had already passed the point of negotiation. Elizabeth's response, by contrast, reportedly took a different path. Quiet, reflective, and more measured than Andre, she seemingly accepted the reality of the situation. Insiders claim she recognized the unsustainable dynamics, the repeated chaos, and the personal toll of trying to mediate a partner who refused to yield. For the first time, her loyalty appeared tempered by clarity and practicality. While the decision undoubtedly stung, she allegedly saw the ban as an opportunity to step back, reset, and consider the long-term consequences of staying entangled in a cycle of volatility. The contrast between Andre and Elizabeth underscores a larger truth about fame and chaos. Drama can build opportunities, create visibility, and make someone indispensable in the short term. But unchecked, it can also destroy relationships, careers, and personal stability. What was once a magnet for attention became a liability that no network could ignore. Insiders reportedly confirmed that the ban was not a single, impulsive decision, but the culmination of years of escalating problems. Every outburst, every production disruption, and every attempt to manipulate the narrative contributed to a tipping point that made reconciliation impossible. Contracts were not renewed. Planned storylines and spin-offs involving the couple were scrapped. The production reportedly had to rework future seasons, casting new faces and reshaping arcs that had been built around the couple for nearly a decade. Social media chatter continued to escalate. Fans debated whether Elizabeth would ever speak out, whether Andre would fight back, and what this meant for the future of the franchise. Former and current cast members reportedly weighed in privately, calling Andre difficult, hostile, and impossible to manage. Some insiders said they were quietly relieved, free from the daily tension that had followed the couple for years. The question now isn't just about the couple, it's about the franchise itself. How will the show adapt to the absence of one of its most dramatic forces? Can new personalities create the same intensity without repeating the same destructive patterns? The ripple effects of this ban are just beginning, and the answers are far from certain. Andre's denial and Elizabeth's reflection set the stage for a fascinating contrast. One refuses to see the consequences of their actions. The other finally acknowledges them. And as the franchise moves forward, both the network and the audience are left grappling with the fallout, trying to understand how fame, chaos, and control intersect, and which choices ultimately determine who stays and who is cut from the story forever. With Andre and Elizabeth officially off the franchise, the story didn't end. It transformed. For nearly a decade, they had been the engine of drama. The couple fans loved to hate, the ones who could make or break an episode with one argument. Their ban left a void, but insiders say it also created clarity. Producers reportedly felt a sense of relief, no longer juggling crises that had become almost routine. Crew schedules could be followed, storylines stabilized, and tension behind the scenes eased. For Elizabeth, insiders claim this moment was as much liberation as it was loss. After years of mediating, apologizing, and managing Andre's explosions, she reportedly began seeing the franchise from a distance. The constant pressure, the demands to keep peace at all costs, and the emotional toll of being caught between a volatile spouse and the production finally gave way to reflection. Fans watching may have thought she was just a supporting player, but behind the cameras, she had carried a weight few could imagine. Her quiet acceptance wasn't surrender, it was recognition that some battles aren't won by fighting, but by stepping back. Andre, on the other hand, reportedly continued struggling with the loss of control. Sources say he made calls, sent messages, and explored every avenue to reverse the decision. The rage, frustration, and disbelief allegedly persisted for weeks. His public silence was deceptive. Privately, insiders say he felt cornered, stripped of authority, and betrayed by the franchise he believed he had dominated. The contrast between his persistence and Elizabeth's acceptance highlights a deeper reality. Unchecked aggression and attempts to control outcomes can bring short-term visibility, but often at the cost of long-term opportunity. Fans and industry observers quickly began analyzing what the ban meant for reality TV dynamics. Drama, tension, and conflict have always driven ratings, but the Andre and Elizabeth saga illustrates a critical balance. Too much unpredictability, especially off-camera, creates a system that cannot sustain itself. Fame amplifies flaws, and while it can initially fuel attention, it can also accelerate downfall when boundaries are crossed repeatedly. What worked as captivating storytelling for viewers became a liability for those producing it. The ripple effects reportedly extended beyond production. Cast members who had previously felt overshadowed or frustrated by the couple's antics reportedly expressed relief. Social media analysts noted the absence of Andre's explosive behavior changed the tone of fan discussions. Comment sections shifted from outrage to curiosity, with fans speculating which new personalities might rise to fill the void. Ratings, insiders suggest, were expected to dip initially, but production teams viewed it as a necessary recalibration. The story of Andre and Elizabeth is a cautionary tale about power, control, and the invisible costs of chaos. Fame may offer attention, but it doesn't guarantee influence. Drama can drive ratings, but when it spreads behind the scenes,